Not My Family is a highly fictionalized, loosely autobiographical narrative that describes generational bad will, poor choices, financial malfeasance, and even murder. The generational craziness is propagated like a tidal wave, threatening to drown everything in the deluge. Secrets are buried deep in lies, pacts sealed in blood, the truth concealed unto death, just to exert some control. I hate rubberneckers. It's kind of like, or this book is kind of like rubbernecking. The 30-mile pileup or 30-car pileup on I-75. You want to look away, but you're drawn to the carnage. Join me as the protagonist progresses along self-discovery and she recreates her identity and she discovers how to go home again. Not My Family can be purchased at FeliciaBaxter.com or directly from the author. Just navigate to Facebook, look up Dale's Angels Inc. and click Buy Now for your autographed copy. Now, let's return to the podcast.
God of glory, Lord of love, hearts unfold like flowers before thee, healthy as the sun above. Now the clouds of sin and sadness drive our dark down away. Giver of immortal hands, fill us with the light. Fill us with the light. Oh, fill us with the light of day.
Welcome to the segment TNFro's Medical Minute. And I apologize for taking so long to record this segment because I find that this is a testament to when a job or your day job can actually interfere with your passion. Even though it finances a portion of the passion, I still don't have as much time as I would like to gather my own thoughts, organize them so I can create. And also, I'm still experimenting with the format of this portion of the original podcast because this started as a part of TNFro is Reading, but I decided a couple of weeks ago to actually carve this out as its own entity because I think, number one, it's a lot shorter than the rest of the show. But number two, I do have a blog specifically that speaks to medicine and what I actually keep up on because I read a lot of things between Becker's Hospital Review, the science portions of the New York Times, as well as what I get through the AMA and the American Academy of Pediatrics. So I would like to share those tidbits with you. And I've decided to keep the format of this portion of the segment just as a recap of the previous weeks. If I have any updates on anything that spoke about the previous week, as well as two new topics and then a blurb about what is to come up. This week, I wanted to touch on Legionnaires' disease because uh, of the outbreak that's in the Sheraton Atlanta. But before I get to that, I don't have too much of an update on last week's Tennessee Medical Minute. There has been no real updates on in a while, actually, about the higher incidence of cardiovascular disease in astronauts. But I am still looking that up. I will be touching a little bit more on personal health and precision medicine during this episode. So after I speak about Legionnaires, I'll just get into that a little bit more. Um, Last week, it was all over the national news. The Sheraton Atlanta was still shut down as of last Friday because they found a contamination of a bacteria called Legionnaire's disease. It had made several people sick. This particular microorganism is associated with pneumonia. It can cause severe acute respiratory distress syndrome as well as death. It can be linked with GI distress, where you're basically pooping out all of your electrolytes, including sodium. You can get your liver can be damaged, or you can get organism-caused hepatitis. It's associated with about 10% mortality, which makes it, if you already have, or if you're already debilitated or have some type of immunodeficiency, it can really take you out. It's diagnosed by PCR because of the specificity, and well, it's very fast. But it is treatable if you're started on appropriate antibiotics, either levofloxacin, which is a type of fluoroquinolone. Cipro is more well known, Zithromax, or even doxycycline. And because of the presentation, it can be confused with like Rocky Mountain spotted fever and other rickettsial or tick-borne fevers. So you have to be careful and make sure the diagnosis is appropriate. And I spoke about this a little bit more because there seems to be every time I look up, there seems to be new companies that are popping up as far as these huge panels that diagnose food intolerance. Like companies like 23andMe, Everlywell, that promote that you can actually submit a sample and be diagnosed with everything under the sun. Um, and it seems like insurers as well as the laws have not kept up with this explosion. Where this actually type of deep-seated genetic testing has become more pronounced is in precision medicine, which is how you can basically individually tailor medical treatment based on genetics and some other markers for the individual patients. This is more pronounced in cancer care at this time, in particular of breast cancer. But now, as I stated before, there has been an explosion of this type of testing and avoidance as far as food allergens um, at this time. But I actually think there are other possible applications as far as individualized medicine uh, as we become, and we should have already been here, patient-centric and patient-specific. You know what your genetic makeup is. You can actually predict the clinical manifestations and things that you're going to have to treat using environmental markers, coming up with a risk and tailoring either prevention and also management. The biggest thing that I wonder is, what are we going to do with all this information? And that's what I actually asked in my last session. When we have these companies like 23andMe and Everlywell doing all this genetic testing, and this was basically asked since we actually map the genome back in the 80s and 90s, what are we going to do with the information. Is it going to be used for good, or is it going to be misused? And that's where the regulation comes in. I think if we used it for the good, for precision medicine as it pertains to personalized health, as well as management of cancer, and even the long-term management of HIV and some other disorders, diabetes comes to mind. This is the information that we have locked in our genome actually has the answers for how we treat it when the genome gets sick. I think it's pretty awesome, and I think the potential is so vast to help just mankind in general. I don't think we need to sit on it. We just need to keep updated and sift through all the information and apply it appropriately. And that wraps up this part of the segment. TNFro is reading. I wish that you would also join me next week as I not only reboot and expand upon precision medicine and in its applications to now, as well as the work that we actually got going on in vaccines, in particular the chlamydia vaccine, as well as the updates on the contaminated water in New Jersey, in Newark. Thank you. I will never win the lottery. At least I don't think I will. My complete boredom and distaste for conventional forms of entertainment has pushed my intent to create content that uplifts and entertains me. But why not share it with the world? First, who is that girl in the big old truck? Oh yes, that's my truck, at least for the next 72 payments. In 2017, I picked up said truck in Texas. Shout out to Terry Hill at that time at Autoflex Leasing. Bought a 30-year-old RV and pulled it to Oregon. Yes, child. The chick with the fro would camp across the U.S. I would visit lakes on top of extinct volcanoes with the clearest of blue waters, search out waterfalls and chase the sun that had difficulty showing its face in that rainforest. Yes, less than 10 months later, I ran screaming back across the country, but not before hanging out in the Grand Canyon. I had to get home to a real house with 4 walls and my back porch. But all I want more than anything is to travel with true friends, go to football games, Cowboys for life, bitches, see the cherry blossoms, and surround myself with positivity. In the meantime, I have self-published my first book, Not My Family, and I want to see it reviewed in the New York Times Book Review. Yes, I think it's that good. And I'm working on my second book, based right here in Chattanooga, based on the premise, if I won the $1 billion lotto, what about Chattanooga? In the dirty or not so dirty in this case, or why in Chattanooga in general? No prize that large has ever been won in Tennessee. I have been given an extraordinary opportunity to do pretty ordinary work, and I love it. It's not lost on me that I will be able to afford chasing sunsets, following the cherry blossom blooms, and off to not so extinct volcanoes in the most exotic locales on the earth. Or just kick back on the greatest beaches on either coast of the United States. But I want to share that with, well, everyone. I'm the Ruth of podcasts seeking a Boaz, male or female, individual or corporate, to support my mission to have a positive impact on this life and to encourage others. That was a biblical reference, but the theme of my podcast and even my blog does not have a particular religious bent. It's more contemplative. My hope is to spread the girl power heroine message because that message can't be told enough. It takes courage and a lot of hard work if you want to rewrite your life narrative. My inspiration is everything and everyone I see and meet in this life. But it takes time to develop, research, and publish next level content. It takes time and money because true quality comes at a price. That is why I want your support. So let's keep it going. See you at the next book fair. Now back to the show. Well, this is another part of the podcast feel that I feel in my spirit every single day, and I have to limit myself to how many affirmations that I include in this segment. But I guess you can't stock a podcast with way too much positivity. So here we go. And every day, I think we should get in the habit of writing those positive things, those things that build your spirit or build up your strength. And these are one of those things that I should never, ever skip doing because the day will just be bad. I will endeavor to do no massive generalizations because most generalizations are not grounded in sound fact. I will keep an urgency for life, and I will not waste 1 minute of it. I look forward to the journey or my journey, and I will enjoy the ride. I will rise to any challenge with grace and positivity. And I challenge all the listeners today to write these affirmations into their spirit and endeavor to be positive. Well, that concludes another episode or the first inaugural episode of the TNFro Medical Minute. Join me next week as I explore other themes of our payer system, data and its usage in medicine, as well as a follow-up on some of the diseases, as well as not really a medical mystery, but what any advances have been made as far as protecting the astronauts from coronary artery disease. And I'm also looking at other advances in application of precision medicine, not so much just with vaccinations, but in cancer, but also with personal health issues such as diet and the control of allergies and other symptoms. And also, if you have a medical question, or you just want to complement the show itself, please don't hesitate to navigate to www.dalesangelsinc.com and click on the Chubby MD Says, or just respond directly within Spotify and iTunes. They have comments boxes, or our Facebook page. I find it's so exciting when I get to share what I'm learning with others. And I welcome criticisms as well as affirmations. However, if you're just being trolly, I'm not going to post that. And I may actually ask the question on air, as well as the positive and even some of the negative comments on air. Thanks for listening.